I'm Suren, aka My Panda Shall Fly. I'm not really sure where my music comes from as such. I suppose, I'm just kind of making things, that kind of interest me to start with, and kind of experimenting with kind of techniques and methods that kind of really interest me and excite me, and that's how I kind of end up with the music I make. Yeah, I think I don't like to kind of almost be too formulaic with my music kind of making. I think it's kind of limiting to almost dictate your music based on kind of certain production method, or be it software or hardware. So I think I like to kind of just start with however I have to start, on an instrument or with a sample, or maybe with like a new kind of instrument or toy I would have found, and just to kind of see where it goes from there, really. And I'm very much kind of interested in the process. So I almost wanna. I don't want it to be too predictable, really. So I like to kind of be surprised by the end result, I think. In the past, I've released kind of records that have been completely made on software and then completely made on hardware. So I'd like to kind of have toggled between the two extremes, and then also kind of find the kind of middle ground territory to kind of explore. So I think I like to kind of not be too strict about the the kind of method, at least before I start. And I think it just kind of keeps it kind of fun, and and not too predictable and boring. When I began playing live, it was quite difficult for me to figure out my setup and how I would take the music I was making into onto the stage, I suppose, from the studio to stage. And I think that's kind of been a huge challenge for a lot of producers and artists that work with a lot of kind of electronic equipment, I suppose. And the kind of setup I found was finding this sampler, which is a Roland SP404, and that's the kind of core of my setup. And I found that it enables me to kind of perform my music, to an extent, which I'm really happy with. And yet there's still like a lot of it's easy to kind of improvise with it, which is something that's really important to me, I think. So I've kind of got my music broken down into different kind of segments and sections and loops and one-shot samples, and that all kind of lives in the sampler. And then I've got all this other gear that kind of affects everything and allows me to kind of like color and like decorate everything a bit more. And it's amazing. Like I can go from making music with a whole load of stuff on like a table, and then when it comes to performing, I've got this really portable setup that still doesn't take anything away from the music, and it stays true to kind of what I kind of intended with the music. I like how the kind of 404, or at least like the sampler in general, like it invites you to kind of perform and kind of play your music in a different way. It has a certain kind of format that you have to kind of adhere to and work with. So it's kind of nice because I don't necessarily make much music, or I haven't made much music in the past with the sampler itself. Although that's very much what it's used for a lot of the time. But I think it's just so versatile that it also works really well as a performance tool. I mean, there's loads of features that make it really good for playing live, and it's even like so portable that it works on batteries, which is just amazing. So there's been times where if you just got like a pair of headphones and you've got batteries in your sampler, you can kind of just practice on like a train or a plane, or like on the bus home, So that's amazing. And then I can't imagine like moving away from the sampler as like a live tool for a long time. The last EP I released was called No Secrets, and it was on a label called Crete in Switzerland. And I'll be playing some of that stuff tonight. The next release I've got is in July. It's not been announced yet, actually. And then there's another one which I'm really excited about, which is another collaboration with a guy called Morlin, and that's going to be really interesting because it's on a new label that none of us have kind of worked on before, and the music is, it's really playful. It was kind of 5 tracks of, me and Morlin just really playing with tempo and, almost trying to just, kind of sit outside of like a genre, definition. So, somehow we were able to just come up with these bunch of tracks that we found, that really just like jumps around so many kind of different styles and kind of mood. So that's something I'm really excited about. And I think there might be one more before the end of the year. And then, yeah, then it's on to next year.